What's up, guys? Welcome back to Michigan Muckraker. My name's Michelle. Today is November 20th of 2024. And before I get started, I want to make sure that I'm actually live. This is the first time in months that I've gone live, so please excuse me for just
Trump's
a second.
victory doesn't mean our financial worries are over.
Can you guys
Far
hear me
from
all right,
it.
too, out there in
Decades
the
of
chat?
reckless policy.
Best and worst dinner foods for your gut.
Sweet potato. Try to find the purple sweet potato. They're the
Live. All right. This is the first time. I think everything is a go. Sorry about that. So today, I wanted to break down for you exactly why Governor Gretchen Whitmer will not answer any questions really about migrants, aka newcomers, aka illegal immigrants. Before I get into that, I have a couple more articles on Michigan news that I wanted to share, and then a quick update on the channel and why I've been gone so long. So, some of you know that I was a primary caretaker for my mother-in-law for a couple years, and on Easter, unfortunately, she had a stroke that completely changed our lives. And so I tried to continue doing the videos, but the research is very extensive for these videos, and so I didn't feel like I could complete the task up to my standard, and so I decided to just pause doing videos for a while. Sylvia passed away on August 26th, and I miss her very much. My life is completely different, but I'm glad that she's no longer suffering. So after that, I took a few months of a break just for me and just to disconnect for a little bit and, get in touch with nature, went on lots of walks, all that jazz. So I am back now. I am ready to share the research. I've been doing more research once again. I'm glad that the elections are over, and hopefully we can focus on the root cause of these issues. So I'm going to jump in. Thanks for hanging out with me, and hopefully you guys can hear me, because I'm not seeing any comments, but again, there probably could be some comments, and I'm just not in the right spot, so I apologize. Alright, let's switch over to this. Before we get started really quick, this is the virtual listening sessions that are coming up now on implementing the Michigan Healthy Climate Plan. So if you live in Michigan, I highly recommend that you go, or rather join these Zoom webinars and listen. Today is the first one from 6 to 7 p.m. about the electric grid and how to clean it up. Drive clean energy deployment, including improving sitting for renewable energy and energy storage across Michigan, including on brownfields and former industrial sites, and emphasizing equitable access for Michigan's low-income disadvantaged communities. Now, real quick, I forgot to mention, I knew I'd forget something. I am no longer going to be live on YouTube. I can only go live on one platform, and I've chosen Rumble. So I will be transferring my videos over to YouTube after they're complete, but I'll be live here in Rumble. So thank you once again for joining me. There, chat. Yeah, Zoltan the Man. I finally found the comments. So thank you for being here. I've missed you guys a lot. I've missed sharing the research. I've missed doing the research there for a little while, but I needed a little time out. So I appreciate you guys understanding. And since I've been gone, there has been several new people. So thank you guys for joining. All right. One more thing, all of the links will be down below. I was trying to do the Substack thing. I've since nicked that. I'm still going to try to do Substack in the future, but right now that's on pause. All of the research and all the links will be down below, so you can do your own research on this, and I absolutely encourage that. So, Green Energy Nonprofit Bank collects $5 million from taxpayers. This is from MichiganCapitalConfidential.com, a libertarian site. Usually, I really like their work. I haven't found anything so far that I've completely disagreed with or found was misinformation, whatever. So, getting into this, majority of past donations from Michigan Saves Fund, a Lansing lobbying and consulting firm, October 30th, 2024. And then, I am very nervous. It's been a long time. I am a researcher, not a public speaker. but with time, I should get back into a good flow, so bear with me. The 2025 state budget gives $5 million of our money, of our taxpayer dollars, to Michigan Saves, which is a nonprofit bank that promotes wind and solar energy. I didn't vote for that. You didn't vote for that. The appropriation is consistent with other spending priorities of Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who approved hundreds of millions in taxpayer dollars to implement her state version of the Green New Deal, which she calls the Michigan Healthy Climate Plan. Once again, they're asking for your input, so, well, they're pretending to ask for your input. I say we listen to what they have to say. That's the best source, right? Is straight from the horse's mouth. Whitmer used a press release to defend the $5 million grant, which she said would support Michigan Saves, Michigan's nonprofit green bank, and offering credit enhancement tools intended to incentivize lending at lower rates and under better terms for clean energy and water improvements. Now, I am for clean energy, I am for water improvements, but all of these economic development policies and new rules that are coming into place are based on a lie, and that lie is that carbon is a pollution. Therefore, our breath, literally us breathing, is polluting the earth. That is a lie. We are not contributing to the climate change. The climate changes because that's a natural thing that happens. We have cycles, right? So obviously, I'm for cleaning up Earth, but using lithium EV batteries and cobalt mining and lithium mining, these things are not how we clean them up. So, Michigan Saves promotes accessible, equitable, and just investments. Says who? Who says what's equitable? Who says what is just? In energy efficiency and clean energy to support healthy, thriving communities. Let's see. Michigan Saves use public sector consultants to staff and manage the organization. The $5 million grant is one of hundreds of pork project grants given by Whitmer and the Michigan legislature. These projects undergo no vetting process and face no accountability requirements for how recipients spend the money. A legislator will request money for an organization in his or her district while denying other organizations the opportunity to also compete for the funds. The bank is located in the district represented by Rep. Emily Divendorf from Lansing. She didn't respond. Or he. Lindsay could be a male name. I apologize. Grand Rapids seeks feedback on climate action plan. Proposal calls for eliminating greenhouse gas emissions by 2040. This just came out October 28th of 2024. The climate change crisis is one of the city's top priorities, the city of Grand Rapids says, and it is developing a plan to act on that belief. Mind you, this is the same city that started fluoride in the water. So I'm sure that they'll be the last to take it out as well. The draft of the Climate Action and Adaptation Plan aims to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and encourage electrification. It has 6 chapters: energy, more solar use, healthy homes, less electric use, income-based electric rates. Now, this is an issue because hopefully I can get to all the data collection and the dynamic rating system, dynamic pricing that's coming out. So basically every day your pricing can change because all the data is constantly going through their system. It's crazy, but it's part of that software as a service and the Internet of Things and the 4th Industrial Revolution. Commercial buildings, less energy use. Transportation, which more carpooling, of course, and cycling, denser developments. This is where you get all of your commercial buildings are actually being flipped into housing, with the bottom floor being retail. So that's how they're going to get denser developments. Natural systems, more trees and rain gardens. I'm always for more trees. You know, trees actually breathe in our CO2. So once again, not a pollution. It's actually food, or however you want to phrase it, for trees. Food systems, more urban agriculture and composting, less food in the trash. Public comment is open through October 31st, so that's already passed. The plan has as its benchmark the amount of greenhouse gases emitted by municipal operations in 2008, with the goal of 85% reduction by 2030 and 100% reduction by 2040. The plan would mandate commercial buildings over 10,000 square feet to report their energy usage. So this is where you get the smart buildings, but specifically commercial buildings that are being turned into housing. So now the same thing, you're going to have to, it's over 10,000 square feet, you're going to have to report your energy usage. And it's all about surveillance, really. Grand Rapids is basing its climate plan on those of other large cities, including Austin, Texas, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Portland, Oregon, and Rhode Island, Providence, Rhode Island. The business community has submitted feedback and will stay engaged as the plan develops, according to Joshua Lunger, the Vice President of Government Affairs at the Grand Rapids Chamber of Commerce. Those who own property, commercial real estate, and small businesses would be most impacted by this proposal. The City of Grand Rapids Office of Sustainability and the GR 2030 district will oversee the program. If the city adopts the plan, the City Commission must suggest and approve policy changes. Of course, none of this will help with energy prices. In fact, I'm thinking it's going to be more like South Africa, where you will have energy from, certain times of the day, rather than having energy whenever you want. But that's 2030. That's a whole 5 years from now. Lastly, Michigan's new growth plan, open homes to refugees. So now we're getting to the main topic of this video. It didn't start out that way, but I just kept finding more and more information. And this is a very recent topic as well. Democrat governors, this is Fox News, of course, Democrat governors have refused to endorse the use of their state police to deport migrants. When the governor was asked that, Whitmer never answered the question. Whitmer would not answer, says Dave Bondi. So why? Why will Whitmer not touch this question? Well, it comes down to, of course, the root cause of everything, the inventory and control of every resource on this plane, and that would be Agenda 2030. So in 2015, Agenda 2030 was implemented, and it marks the first time migration was included in mainstream global development policy. Global governance. That's a new term for the New World Order, because they know the New World Order has a stigma upon it, so now they've changed it to global governance. Just an FYI. So the United Nations giving migrants money. This is what I typed in. The United Nations provides financial assistance to migrants, including cash and voucher assistance. The UN plans to distribute $372 million in CVA and MCA to 624,000 migrants in transit to the United States. This money is often given as prepaid debit cards, but can also be in the form of cash. So, not a conspiracy. All you have to do is type in United Nations giving migrants money. And, of course, this is AI, but you can dive into it, and the AI is, in fact, correct. Now, most of the time, the AI will give you correct information, but they'll just leave out information. So you'll always have to dig deeper, but it says right there that they're giving money. Now, come over here, the economic impact of migration, $1 trillion opportunities. So let's see if I can find right here. Migration Matters. This is a more established site perhaps. Migration Matters, a human cause with a $20 trillion business case. December 8th, this is all the way back in 2022. Affected by the ongoing pandemic, accelerating climate change, and geopolitical and economic destabilizers, millions of people have moved across the border since the start of 2022. Now, before I continue, I have to say that the pandemic was the plandemic, okay, the Great Reset, and all that. It was more about the pandemic response that destroyed small businesses and our economy and everything else that it destroyed. It was not the actual illness itself that did that. Accelerating climate change. Okay, once again, the climate does change, but the whole premise of this is that we are the ones responsible, because carbon is a pollution, and so we are just a bunch of polluters, just breathing. So that's a lie. So again, that is policies based on lies that these people believe in, right? This vision of these self-anointed pricks. Geopolitical and economic destabilizers. How about the wars that you continue to propagate and we don't want them? So, you're fleeing from war, which one of these articles says that's very few people, a small percentage of people that are actually fleeing from war. It's more about economic opportunities, right? And that is because of the United Nations paying them, right? You have an opportunity to get paid by the United Nations to come to America. Why would you not? While cross-border migration currently generates an annual economic output of around $9 trillion, this figure could more than double by 2050. So you understand why they like migration? $9 trillion. They don't care who is harmed by flooding the market with people that raises demand, and yet the supply stays the same. So what happens? The people that are in those areas are competing for resources, and already it was difficult. So yeah, 9 trillion, this figure could more than double by 2050 to around $20 trillion a year in migrant money. So that's human trafficking, guys, in just a different way. It's not how you think about human trafficking, but it's the same concept, just on a global scale. Yes, migrants create money in many ways, including economic activity, consumer spending, patents, founding companies, taxes. U.S. immigrants create at least $2 trillion in economic activity. New report shows immigrants play a critical role to Michigan's population growth and the economy. Immigrants contributed $67.8 billion, or 9.9%, to the state's GDP in 2022. A new report, Contributions of New Americans in Michigan, released by the American Immigration Council in partnership with the Michigan Global Talent Coalition, underscores the crucial role immigrants play in the state's population growth, labor force, business creation, and consumer spending. Hey Brent, thank you very much. It's good to be back. Hopefully I'm loud and clear for you guys. I could try to get the microphone closer if need be, but I hope you guys are taking care of yourself, and I hope you're as glad as I am that that election is over. Over the past decade, Michigan's immigrant population grew by more than 87,000 Michigan residents, accounting for 57% of the state's population growth. So the only green number is the immigration number. As of 2022, as far as population growth in Michigan. And of course, it's because they are taxing the hell out of residents, of American citizens, and then they're giving that money to migrants. So we need to stop giving our money to them. Together, everybody needs to do it together. That's one solution. In 2022 alone, immigrants in the state held $23.1 billion in spending power, paid $5.5 billion in federal taxes, and paid $2.6 billion in state and local taxes. In that same year, immigrants were 24.1% more likely to be working age than their U.S.-born counterparts, allowing them to actively participate in the labor force and contribute to the economy as taxpayers and consumers. All right, I'm going to put the headset on really quick. Hopefully we can hear this. This is just Whitmer back in August, giving driver's licenses, free college, and free health care.
Well, let me ask.
Oh, something. Let's see.
Well, let me ask you about her running mate, Tim Walz, and particularly on the issue of immigration. Obviously, some of his policies in his state have come into focus. He signed into law initiatives allowing undocumented immigrants to apply for driver's licenses, free tuition at public universities, and enroll in the state's free health care program for low-income residents. Would you like to see the Harris administration adopt those same policies, Governor?
Well, I can tell you, Tim Walz is a pragmatic guy. He's a Midwesterner just like me, and I think some of the wonderful things he's done in Minnesota resonate with, Americans in all states.
Well, let me ask.
Oh, pragmatic. I think I have another video here in a little bit, but I'll take the headset off for now. So, I found this just today while I was doing a little bit more research for this video. The Office of Global Michigan. I'm like, Global Michigan, huh? Like, the Office of Global Michigan takes the lead in advancing equity and inclusion initiatives throughout the state, while spearheading programs for the seamless integration of newcomers. So, migrants is a term that the United Nations coined instead of illegal immigrants. And then newcomers is what they're using instead of migrants. Anything they can to try to mask what they're doing, they will change words. Whitmer is so awful to listen to. I agree. I can't wait till she's gone, but I fear that she has big goals, big plans. United Nations president actually goes up for election in 2026. So is that where her sights are set rather than the United States, the United Nations? We'll see. Our goal is to strengthen connections between communities by ensuring state programs and opportunities are accessible, inclusive, and positioned to have the best possible impact. We take the lead in driving initiatives that promote equity and inclusion. Our programs facilitate the smooth integration of newcomers, ensuring a welcoming environment. We empower immigrant, refugee, and marginalized communities to thrive with resources and support. Our goal is to cultivate a Michigan that not only embraces diversity, but actively promotes inclusivity. Michigan Immigrant Rights Center versus Gretchen Whitmer. This is an ongoing case. This case is the Michigan Supreme Court, Plaintiff Michigan Immigrant Rights Center sued the governor to stop her Michigan's allegedly unlawful practice of denying benefits to injured workers based on their immigration status. So now if you're illegal and you're working and you get hurt, you will still get benefits. So there is literally no benefit to being a United States citizen. The Michigan Court of Appeals dismissed the case, which requires a plaintiff who wants to sue the state to either bring a claim or notify. So that was the update, but just thought I'd let you guys know that case was going on. Oops. Close that out. Migration Matters, a human cause with a $20 trillion business case. Same thing as earlier. Sorry about that. Keep going. Migration in the 2030 Agenda. First time migration was included, formally recognizing the positive contributions of migrants in global development and acknowledging migrant resilience in the face of climate change and other drivers of displacement. Migration is a global phenomenon that impacts the lives of most people. An estimated 258 million people are international migrants in our increasingly interconnected world. Millions more are impacted through family ties, economic exchanges, and cultural connections. Now, all of this is connected to digital ID, transhumanism, the border wall, and how the border wall actually is now about cameras and facial recognition and all that. And Peter Thiel just loves it, right? Which heavily involved with the current administration, but it was Biden's administration that got us back into the global compact for migration. Trump did back out, but cities here in America continued forth with that compact. So this just once again reiterates migrants represent approximately 3% of the world's population, but they produce more than 9% of global GDP. Some US dollar $3 trillion, I don't know why I said it that way, $3 trillion more than if they had stayed home. That's according to the IOM, which is migrants, international something migrants. Probably says somewhere right here on this page, but the 2030 Sustainable Agenda for Sustainable Development provides an overarching framework to address this complex and dynamic relationship between migration and development, and to better understand how migration and migrants can shape development outcomes and vice versa. And this comes from a United Nations report, which I can't get into the whole thing, obviously. It's like usual, crazy long. Migration and the 2030 Agenda. Let's see. Yeah. 121 pages. But if you guys really want a deep dive of this, please consider commenting down below, and I will definitely do so. I don't mind reading through all of these documents because, again, I like to go straight to the source, and this is the script. If you want to know why everything's happening, it's the United Nations Agenda 2030 script and all of these non-governmental entities that are manipulating economics, politics, all of it. And I think this stuff is fascinating, right? So I love looking into it. I don't love that it's happening, but we are living in a dystopian sci-fi book. And so I'm going to observe everything that I can observe, and hopefully we can mitigate disaster, or once the disaster is over, we can learn from learn the lessons that we need to learn, right? Global Compact for Migration, it's now or never. This is 2018. No distinction with regard to a person's status, an end to child detention, and no criminalizations of migrants. These are some of the safeguards that civil society organizations want to have in the Global Compact on Migration. Now, once again, Biden brought us back in retroactively as well. So it's like we were always in this compact. Recognizing the potential of the GCM to protect migrants in irregular and/or vulnerable situations, civil society organizations are calling on all states to ensure that the final document truly lives up to the spirit of the New York Declaration for Refugees and Migrants. So this started in 2016 and was finalized in 2018, endorsed by nearly 180 organizations, which, when they say organizations, are they talking about countries, but now they're called organizations? All right, so unity of purpose we'll get into first, but this is the Global Compact. We're not going to get into the whole thing once again, very long, but just some key points that I think are interesting. This Global Compact recognizes that safe, orderly, and regular migration works for all when it takes place in a well-informed, planned, and consensual manner. Migration should never be an act of desperation. When it is, we must cooperate to respond to the needs of migrants in situations of vulnerability and address the respective challenges. We must work together to create conditions that allow communities and individuals to live in safety and dignity in their own countries. We must save lives and keep migrants out of harm's way. We must empower migrants to become full members of our societies, highlight their positive contributions, and promote inclusion and social cohesion. So Whitmer is just following this compact, guys. We must generate greater predictability and certainty for states, communities, and migrants alike. To achieve this, we commit to facilitate and ensure safe, orderly, and regular migration for the benefit of all. Now, once again, I have no problem with individuals that want to find a better life or have a better life. My problem is that these powers that be that want to control this world are giving our money to them to come here and compete with our resources, compete for our resources with us. Sustainable development. The Global Compact is rooted in Agenda 2030 for sustainable development and builds upon its recognition that migration is a multi-dimensional reality of major relevance for the sustainable development of countries of origin, transit, and destination, which requires coherent and comprehensive responses. Migration contributes to positive development outcomes and to realizing the goals of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, especially when it is properly managed. And again, they're managing that through surveillance tools at the border, and they're going to do this in every country. The Global Compact aims to leverage the potential of migration for the achievement of all sustainable development goals, as well as the impact this achievement will have on migration of the future. And then I'm going to quickly just lay out some of these objectives. Objectives for safe, orderly, and regular migration. Collect and utilize accurate and disaggregated data as a basis for evidence-based policies. Collect and utilize data. Minimize the adverse drivers and structural factors that compel people to leave their country of origin. A lot of it is child trafficking. Absolutely. It's human trafficking, and then they take the children, and we have no idea where they go once they're separated. It's absolutely awful. I feel, again, I feel for these people that the Darien Gap is no joke, which is one of the ways they get up here into America. They have to go through a lot, and they're only doing it because they're incentivized to do so, right? I mean, humans, it's either the carrot or the stick. They know that, and they're manipulating us to the best of their ability. But if we can point it out, it's that much easier to stop them from being able to do it, right? Provide accurate and timely information at all stages of migration. Ensure that all migrants have proof of legal identity and adequate documentation. Enhance availability and flexibility of pathways for regular migration. Facilitate fair and ethical recruitment and safeguard conditions that ensure decent work. Address and reduce vulnerabilities of migration. Save lives and establish coordinated international efforts on missing migrants. Strengthen the transnational response of smuggling of migrants. Prevent, combat, and eradicate trafficking in persons in the context of international migration. Down here, eliminate all forms of discrimination and promote evidence-based public discourse to shape perceptions of migration. We all know that they attempt to shape our perceptions all the time, or we should, right? Invest in skills development and facilitate mutual recognition of skills, qualifications, and competences. We commit to strengthen the global evidence base on international migration by improving investing in the collection, analysis, and dissemination of accurate, reliable, comparable data, disaggregated by sex, age, migration status, and other characteristics relevant in national context, while upholding the right to privacy under international human rights laws and protecting personal data. You really think they care about protecting personal data? They don't like private property. Don't you think personal data would be considered private property to them? I just don't believe that. Their protecting personal data is not the same as mine. I can pretty much guarantee you that. Elaborate and implement a comprehensive strategy for improving migration data at local, national, regional, and global levels, with the participation of all relevant stakeholders under the guidance of the United Nations Statistical Commission, which I didn't even know that was a thing, but once again, so much bureaucracy, right? Part of that confusion and halting of progress is that there are so many different government entities or, sections, different groups of people trying to control different things. Too much centralization. And yet, it's decentralized. It's like the worst of both worlds. We need to flip it on its head and have the best of both worlds, right? Individual, rather decentralized communities, but yet, centralized in the fact that we all know that life is precious, so on and so forth. So there is a balance between the collective and the individual. Right now, we're doing the wrong thing, in my opinion. Now, of course, you can disagree with me, and if you do, please let me know in the comments. If you learn anything new, by the way, please consider smashing the like button. It really helps, and that will let me know, what kind of information you guys like as well. So keep me informed. Two-way street, right? Trump wants out of global migration discussion. Cities want in. This is just where I got the information about Trump backing out. So the Trump administration withdrew from the process of developing a new global compact on migration designed to lay out a strategy for addressing that subject. While the administration's decision is a regrettable abdication, thank you, of leadership, the good news is that American cities are stepping up to join with their global peers and chart a stronger course for refugee policy. So Chicago, New York, Paris, Los Angeles, they all said, we're going to do it no matter what the country says, right? Whatever the Fed says. When the Global Compact for Safe, Orderly, and Regular Migration was agreed to in December 2018, the United States was not a party to the agreement, as the Trump administration did not formally participate in its formation. In 2021, however, the Biden admin retroactively supported the non-binding GCM and began participating in its implementation. Since that time, the U.S. has achieved a mixed record of adhering to the provisions of the GCM, a document which creates a multilateral framework. That's just New World Order talk, right? Public-private partnerships and multilateral framework just means we're going to go above and beyond the people that you voted for, and we're just going to make up whatever we want. Because they know better than us. For the international community to humanely manage migration flows. Moreover, proposed changes to U.S. border policy threaten to further sully the U.S. record on migration. The following is an examination of U.S. immigration policies and how they measure up. The U.S. has liberally used humanitarian parole as a tool to bring in vulnerable populations or individuals into the country. It is a policy established in the post-World War II era to protect individuals or populations for humanitarian or public benefit reasons. In 2021, the U.S. exercised this parole authority to bring in two large populations, nearly 80,000 Afghans fleeing U.S.-Afghan conflict and over 140,000 Ukrainians fleeing the Russian invasion of Ukraine. In early 2023, the U.S. created a new program to allow up to 30,000 Venezuelans, Haitians, Cubans, and Nicaraguans per month to enter the U.S. and work, with 340,000 having arrived in the U.S. at the end of 2023. In April of 2023, the U.S. launched safe mobility offices in several Central and South American countries to facilitate legal migration to the U.S., and so on and so forth. Little known virtual border wall creates privacy, safety, data concerns. I have not watched this video yet, but the articles that I have to share with you after this little video I have read, and it's all about, once again, surveillance state and how they're trying to trick us into accepting this by creating the problem, right? They created the problem, the supply and demand problem, and now they're going to bring in their solution, which is surveillance.
Has been at the center of America's immigration debate ever since Donald Trump made it the centerpiece of his 2016 presidential campaign.
We're going to build a wall. It's going to be built.
But there's another border wall, a virtual wall, and it's received much less attention. It's a mass network of nearly 300 surveillance cameras, motion sensors, and military-grade drones, all spread across the border. They're very hard to find and aren't always in the places you'd expect. Sure, there are several cameras right next to the border in San Isidro, but there are also surveillance towers in residential neighborhoods and public parks. There's one in a community college, and even one near the Del Mar Dog Beach, 32 miles north of the actual border. Until a month ago, the exact location of these towers was a complete mystery. The Department of Homeland Security had not publicly disclosed this information.
But nobody really had a good sense of where these towers were.
Dave Moss is the Director of Investigations at the Electronic Frontier Foundation. He spent months mapping them out, and the result is the most comprehensive map of surveillance infrastructure along the US-Mexico border. Moss says that the scope of this technology raises serious privacy concerns.
In the imagination of people in DC and in people in the national media, the border is just this desert wasteland. And then the only people you would ever encounter out along the border are human traffickers and cartels and smugglers. Now, folks in San Diego know that's not true. People live near the border.
And those people are in a constant state of surveillance.
And these towers can sometimes see up to like 7.5 miles. That is a lot of people's lives that they could pry into. And CBP really hasn't earned the trust of members of the community.
The sheer size and rugged terrain of the border make it nearly impossible to see the privacy concerns raised by this virtual border wall. But thanks to VR technology, we now have a better sense.
So what I have planned for you is we are going to go on a tour of...
And this is like augmented virtual reality, right? Like Pokemon Go. And this is why when people hold up their phone and say they can see the northern lights, I'm sorry, I just don't believe it. If you don't see it with your naked eye, I don't believe you. Because I lifted up my phone and I saw a Pokemon, right, in Starbucks down in Gulfport when that was all the rave. That Pokemon wasn't really there, obviously. And so the fact that they can do that into all the phones that were in the Starbucks, you could see these Pokemon. It was nuts. So this is augmented virtual reality as well. And once again, if you have to lift up your phone and look at something, don't believe it. Don't trust it. They can put augmented virtual reality, things that aren't there, they can put it there.
a whole bunch of different locations from San Diego to Brownsville. So we'll do the whole border, and I'm going to show you a bunch of different technologies.
Our tour began right here in San Diego.
Okay, so we are going to start in some place that is fairly familiar to you. This is Friendship Park, and this is actually Friendship Park, I think, circa 2018 or something.
We covered hundreds of miles in mere seconds. Moss took me to...
So this is Naco, Arizona. So we are at Oregon Pipe, the entrance to Oregon Pipe National Monument in southern Arizona. But let me take you to Laredo, Texas, where we are now at a public park where people play soccer. This is in McAllen, Texas.
Customs and Border Protection says that these towers give agents in the field a significant leg up against criminal networks. They're an essential part of border security.
But here's the thing, who determines what's criminal and what's not? I know that sounds like it should be obvious, you know, obviously you lie, you cheat, you steal, you murder, those are criminal, those are all criminal activities. But, you know, what if now protesting your government is a criminal activity?
And on this issue, there's agreement on both sides of the political aisle. In 2019, Democrats promoted the idea of virtual borders as a more humane alternative to former President Donald Trump's border wall. Here is San Diego Congressman Scott Peters describing the virtual wall.
It might be sensors and radar to spot moving people and objects in any weather or any time of day. It might be cameras mounted on drones to surveil places where the terrain is tough to monitor.
Peters did not respond to an interview request for this story. Despite the bipartisan support, experts say that these towers result in more migrant deaths, and they do nothing to prevent the most common method of drug smuggling, which is to simply drive through a legal border crossing. Sam Chambers is a researcher at the University of Arizona. He studies how border infrastructure contributes to migrant deaths.
People moving around out of sight of these towers means they're taking longer journeys.
And by taking longer journeys, they put themselves at risk of multiple health issues like
kidney damage or dehydration or a heat stroke or...
Okay. All right, take this off. So you guys get the idea? Former President Trump's big, beautiful wall along the southern border is one of the most divisive issues in American life, regularly prompting condemnation from Democratic lawmakers. But there's another wall, a virtual wall that the federal government has spent hundreds of millions of dollars to develop and has widespread bipartisan support. This just came out last year, so April 21st, 2023. Vast network, all right. So now we're going to go over to Whitney Webb, who is an excellent researcher. I know that you guys know about her. Manufacturing consent, the border fiasco, and the smart wall. The political response to the crisis at the southern border continues to advance the bipartisan smart wall, having been backed by Trump and Biden alike. This bipartisan consensus reaches far beyond the U.S., as much of the world is similarly speeding along in implementing digital borders. Uh-oh, my puppy is now going to be annoying. I was hoping he would last. You gotta relax. We'll go for a walk after. I don't know if you guys can see him. Here's my Brittany pup. He is not quite so small anymore, is he? 9 months old. Excellent breed, by the way. Sorry to sidetrack. Alright, Hank. I love you. Go lay down. Alright, so... let me see. Zeno says, I wonder if eventually Neuralink will become mandatory so the surveillance system can be more effective. Excellent point, and it definitely, it does connect, and hopefully I can get to those connections before my dog drives me crazy. While the justifications for the frenzied media coverage are based on the actual reality that the border is indeed highly insecure and has been for some time, the policy responses from American politicians reveal that there is a bipartisan consensus about what must be done. Tellingly, the same solution is also being quietly rolled out at all American ports of entry that are not currently being overrun, such as airports. That solution, of course, is biometric surveillance, enabled by AI, facial recognition, biometrics, and autonomous devices. Now pair that with dynamic pricing, Like, you could start to see the dystopian nightmare that they're trying to create for us. And it's all digital, so really all we should have to do is just not enter the digital world. But that's really hard. I did it for a little while, and here I am, hanging out with you guys again, sharing research. This solution is not just being implemented throughout the United States as an alleged means of thwarting migrants. It is also being rapidly implemented throughout the world in apparent lockstep. The reasons for the unspoken but obvious global consistency is implementing invasive biometric surveillance is due to the fulfillment of global policy agendas ratified by nearly every country in the world that seek both to restrict the extent of people's freedom of movement and to surveil people's movements, and much, much more, through the global implementation of digital identity. Those policy agendas include, mainly, the UN's Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development, specifically Sustainable Development Goal number 16, as well as Interpol's global policy goals. While the American right has been rather outspoken in its rejection of the UN's Agenda 2030 and the Digital ID project at large, the distress over the border situation is being used to manufacture consent among the specific group for solutions that are focused on expanding surveillance and biometric collection as opposed to the implementation of physical barriers. So this gentleman, Lucky, who created the VR headset, Oculus Rift, Palmer Luckey, has become the face of America's virtual border wall. Lucky, the brain behind the defense tech firm Anduril, is a longtime associate of Palantir co-founder Peter Thiel, with Lucky having met Thiel at 19 when he was presiding over his first company, the Oculus Rift, which again is virtual reality. Thiel was then on Facebook's board and was also fundamental in the rise of social media company. So Lucky was a donor to Trump's inaugural committee, and his apparent mentor, Peter Thiel, was a key figure on Trump's transition team, particularly for defense. And by the way, this came out February 19th of 2024, this article did. The company dresses itself in America First rhetoric, which there's so many companies that do that now, and most of them are Israel First. The company dresses itself in America First rhetoric, especially when it comes to border security, framing itself as a beacon of Western democracy and nationalism in an age of globalism. Despite this, Anduril is part of a network that fronts for the long-standing surveillance ambitions of the same American deep state that Trump supporters revile. It goes on, as only Whitney Webb can do, into some really killer research that you should know about. But there's only so much time, especially since this puppy, I have to pet him right now to keep him happy. Argentina plans to use AI to predict future crimes and help prevent them. So this just came out August 1st, 2024. And again, this is part of that dystopian nightmare. It's a matrix. Yeah, it's the metaverse is the matrix that they do. They want us to be plugged in, and I'm sure they want to use our bodies as batteries, just like they do in the Matrix. That's the only reason they want us alive. And the more I think about it, a really quick side tangent, the ectolife pods, the artificial womb, right? They are trying to make life itself behind a paywall, right? You have to ask a company in order to do the paperwork and pay money to apply for a baby. Like, that's what they want. They want complete control of every resource. That means you won't be able to have a baby without authorization, right? And without making sure that it's okay in that area. Like, this is what they want. This is the ultimate control. It seems far-fetched, but if they have the same kind of technology as China implemented all throughout the United States, why not? Why would you not be able to do that dystopian plan? Argentina announced plans last week to use artificial intelligence to predict future crimes before they're initiated. The concept, long a subject for science fiction, was announced by the country's Ministry of Secretary as a new artificial intelligence unit applied to security. Now, sorry if you thought that new leader, what is his name? Javier, for Argentina, you thought he was good? No, all he is doing is he is a face to bring the to basically demolish the public entities like the WHO and make them private, like Gavi, which is Bill Gates' company, right? Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation created Gavi, the alliance. It's a private, so you're giving your money, your taxpayer money is going to Gavi instead of the WHO, right? So he's part of that whole push to privatize things. And again, I am not for big government, but they want it backwards. They want it good for them, bad for us. The unit will be tasked with the prevention, detection, investigation, and prosecution of crime, in addition to conducting drone surveillance, patrolling social media, and using facial recognition to bolster security measures. Security Minister Patricia Bullrich signed a resolution saying it would significantly improve the efficiency of the different areas of the ministry and of the federal police and security forces, allowing for faster, more precise responses to threats and emergencies. Now, Trump is talking about creating a national emergency for the illegal immigrant crisis that we have. And so this will probably be utilized in the name of getting migrants out, right? You guys want the migrants out? This is how we got to do it. We have to have martial law and surveillance state. You know, the goal, this is my newest little allegory, I guess you could say. We are on a train, and the conductor of this train doesn't matter because the track has already been laid, and we are full speed ahead. And I know that where we're going is not where a majority of people on this train want to go. And so I want us to jump off the train, even though it might break our legs. It's better than where we're going. But the conductor matters only in one way, and that is who can keep people on the train the longest to get closest to the destination, right? And right now that's Trump. Trump's going to keep people on the train. And I just really want people to jump off and let's do something else. Let's get off this damn train. And that, again, is Agenda 2030, inventory and controlling us using these technologies. The U.S. wants to use facial recognition to identify migrant children as they age. Going back to the child trafficking comment, exactly. Previously unreported project is intended to improve how facial recognition algorithms track children over time. Speaking of algorithms, this book came out. Let's see really quick. Switch scenes, the algorithm. How AI decides who gets hired, monitored, promoted, and fired, and why we need to fight back now. It's amazing what the algorithm can do already, and the more they tighten the noose around us and we let them, the harder it's going to be to get out of this surveillance state. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security is looking into ways it might use facial recognition technology to track the identities of migrants' children down to the infant as they age, according to John Boyd, Assistant Director of Department's Office of Biometric Identity Management. Here's a new rabbit hole. Where a key part of his role is to research and develop future biometric identity services for the government. Sorry, let me switch over here. As Boyd explained at a conference in June, the key question for OBIM is if we pick up someone from Panama at the southern border at age 4, say, and then pick them up at age 6, are we going to recognize them? Facial recognition technology has traditionally not been applied to children, largely because training data sets of real children's faces are few and far between and consistent of either low-quality images drawn from the internet or small sample sizes with little diversity. Be quiet, Hank. Silicon Valley jumps into biometric rush for Trump's other border wall. This is all the way back in 2017. Under President Trump, the technology companies have started cashing in on little-noticed government push to ramp up the use of biometric tools, such as fingerprinting and iris scanners, to track people who enter and exit the country. The birth pod technology, Zeno says the birth pod technology would also make it possible for the same-sex couples to have biological children sharing genes from both parents. They've been working on that technology for years, I think. Yes, that's how they're selling it. Just like they're selling the Neuralink chip in your head for, repairing damages done. 1 second. Go on. William, take care of him, would you? Hopefully, my husband had the day off of work today. Hopefully he can take care of him. Alright, as the legal fight over the travel ban has continued, dominating the debate over Trump's immigration policy and the proposed border wall, the tech companies have quietly raced to snatch up lucrative government contracts from multiple agencies to develop law enforcement tools that are highly controversial in their own right. This marks an important milestone for the biometric industry, said Melissa Ho, the managing director of the Silicon Valley Innovation Program, an initiative the Department of Homeland Security launched in 2015. Again, 2015 was the year we officially sold out to the United Nations, or I guess most recently sold out to the United Nations. We're committed to real investments in startups working on creating biometric security tools, she said. The growth in the industry is part of a worldwide trend. The global biometric system market is projected to grow from about $11 billion in 2015 to roughly $32 billion in 2022. This is IOM, UN Migration. Has a little section on biometrics, but nothing new. The most recent was 2019 as far as their blog posts go. But biometric technologies have become a vital part of migration management. The responsible use of biometrics, with full respect to applicable privacy and personal data protection legislation, can be an effective tool for enhancing migration management and empowering migrants. The use of automation recognition of individuals based on physical and behavioral characteristics improves the reliability of verification. I could do a whole 2-hour video on just the ways, once again, they're using the algorithm and they're using this dynamic pricing to absolutely screw us over. It was an Uber documentary that actually brought awareness to me about the dynamic wages. So, you know, they were talking about, I go to Wendy's at noon and it's really busy, I'm going to pay $10 for a sandwich versus $5 if I go at 2 o'clock and it's dead, right? So the opposite though, now wages, I'm going to pay you based on what factors, who decides, how do you know what those deciding factors are and how can you change them? How do you know you're not being manipulated or screwed over in some way? And so it's just a whole new set of problems and all for convenience, right? Delivering efficient and swift protection or assistance to beneficiaries often relies on the ability to identify individuals and to prevent irregularities regarding identity claims. Biometrics is also of great importance to facilitate and expedite regular and safe cross-border mobility. For instance, it enables the use of automated border control gates. Lastly, the responsible use of biometrics enhances security in migration and border management processes. By providing concrete support to the responsible use of biometrics, IOM aims to contribute to improved migration management worldwide, building on the experience gained and expertise generated by current biometric projects. IOM aims at further strengthening its capacity to apply biometric tools in its programming in all thematic areas. Biometrics are used for identity and migration management, the registration of internally displaced persons, returnees, and vulnerable migrants. I mean, that's how it starts, right? Slippery slope. At first, it's just the migrants. But eventually, it'll be each and every one of us will be surveilled at all times, and that way they can make sure that we're being energy efficient and using the resources that are, according to them, finite. We use them wisely. IOM data and research. Oh, I'm going to keep going. I don't know why I had that up. World Migration Report. That just came out, I believe, September? So this report is a little wonky because it has a bunch of this type of chart type thing going on, but there is one area right here. This shows the United States, the total number of migrants is 15.3%, 50 million total, versus Canada 21% at 8 million. But this right here shows the migration corridors. And we go over here, United States. So the majority of people are coming from these 4 places: Mexico, India, China, and the Philippines. And so Mexico, 10 million. But see, that's the thing. It's hard to tell because people are coming through the Darien Gap from other countries, exactly what's going on there, but they're coming through from Mexico. The largest corridors tend to be from developing countries to larger economies such as the United States, France, the Russian Federation, and UAE, and Saudi Arabia. Yeah, once again, this is a very weird report that they've put together. I'll leave it down below. Moving on. Algorithmic wage discrimination, not just for gig workers. What's in the box? No, seriously. What's in there that sets our wages? Saturday, July 6th of 2024. Algorithmic wage discrimination, as described in an academic paper last year by UC Irvine law professor Veena Dubal, involves the use of granular data to produce unpredictable, variable, and personalized hourly pay. And then these algorithms are not disclosed. They're referred to as black box algorithms, and they can't be directly scrutinized. There are millions of workers who perform freelance work as independent contractors, 64 million in 2023, representing 38% of the U.S. workforce. McKinsey in 2022 found that 36% of employed survey takers, which gets extrapolated. Oh my goodness. All right. Only got a couple more things to share, but yeah, it's been a good hour back. Gonna have to get used to talking for longer than an hour. Some of these workers offer their services through so-called gig work platforms, and in many cases, workers have little insight into how their interactions with the platform and its services could affect their pay. One example is Shipt, a delivery service acquired in 2017 by Target, as recounted by Dana Kalaki, assistant professor of human-centered AI at Penn State College. The shipping service in 2020 introduced an algorithmic payment system that left workers uncertain about their wages. The company claimed this new approach was fair to workers and that it better matched the pay to the labor required for an order. Many workers, however, just saw their paychecks dwindling, and since Shipt didn't release detailed information about the algorithm, it was essentially a black box that the workers couldn't see inside. So there's one terrible utilization of all the data that they're collecting from us, and being able to collect it in real time is an issue because of this. Dynamic pricing, how prices can change in a flash, November 14th, 2024. And this is especially relevant because Black Friday is coming up, and they're using these pricing methods on everything, all the sales, everything that we see. This algorithm is being used. It's no secret that frustrations with the U.S. economy are widespread among Americans. Complaints about inflation, the cost of living, and the wealth gap have run rampant to the point that they've become banal refrains. However, they aren't unwarranted. It's easy to feel powerless as individuals living in an economy whose strings are pulled by multi-billion-dollar corporations and the top 1%. Public-private partnerships, guys. Government, it's fascism, right? Government working with corporations against us. It's especially easy, too, when companies aren't transparent with their customers, from Wendy's to Walmart to Ticketmaster. Reports of businesses engaging in economically dishonest practices have abounded in recent years, having most recently manifested as dynamic pricing. Compounding this atmosphere of economic corruption is a high rate of economic illiteracy. The average American does not have a firm enough grasp on economic concepts, like dynamic pricing, to be able to combat forms of economic malpractice in their everyday lives. Given these circumstances, an understanding of how companies set their prices, the mechanisms by which prices shift, and the impacts of price shifts on consumers is crucial to sustainable participation in U.S.'s increasingly digitized capitalist market economy. I wouldn't call it capitalist. I'd call it authoritative communitarianism. That's what I call it. Obviously, the fact that they can change prices, change our wages, It's supply and demand. They've done it for food as well. I watched a documentary on YouTube. If I can find it, I'll link that down below as well. But talking about how our prices are being manipulated, and it's not the grocery stores being price gougers, right? It's worse than that. It's about data, centralized data, and how they can, make eggs more expensive one day just because they need to make some extra cash or whatever. The fact that they can manipulate. I'm having a hard time coming up with an adequate example. But Transhumanism and the Future of Humanity, 7 Ways the World Would Change by 2030. Before I get into this, I wanted to share this. It's a little sad, but I found it on ChatGPT subreddit here. Well, this is it, boys. I was just informed from my boss and HR that my entire profession is being automated away. This just came out 18 hours ago. For context, I work production and local news. Recently, there's been developments in AI-driven systems that can do 100% of the production side of things, which is direct, audio operate, and graphic operate. All of those jobs are now gone in one swoop. This has apparently been developed by the company QAI. For the last decade, I've worked in local news and have garnered skills I thought I would be able to take with me until my retirement. Now, at almost 30 years old, all of those job opportunities for me are gone in an instant. The only person that's keeping their job is my manager, who will overlook the system and do maintenance if needed. That's 20 jobs lost and 0 gained for our station. This is just one example of what's going on. We were informed we are going to be the first station to implement this under our company. Now, this is why people like Yuval Harari, the evil piece of crap, says that we'll be a bunch of useless eaters. Well, we won't need to be doing the same jobs anymore, but that, of course, doesn't make us useless. The sole purpose of our lives is not to work for some slave master. It is to contribute to society in meaningful ways, but if that's not happening through these jobs, then we just need to use our minds and create new ways that we can meaningfully contribute to society. There are people I work with in their 50s, single, no college education, no family, no other place to land a job once this kicks in. I have no idea what's going to happen to them. This is it, guys. This is what our future with AI looks like. This isn't creating any new jobs. This is knocking out entire industry-level jobs without replacing them. And this is one reason why I think that whole DOGE, Government Efficiency Department, was created. Department of Government Efficiency. Is because AI was going to already eliminate tons of jobs. But now you can blame it on Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. You are not needed. Let me double check. Nope, I'm going to do this one first. Shoppers might see dynamic and surge pricing on Black Friday. Here's what that could look like. If it feels like prices are on a roller coaster ride during the holidays, you're not imagining things. Strategies such as dynamic pricing and surge pricing mean that prices may change based on supply and demand, competitor pricing, and a shopper's browsing habits or location. That's the problem. That it's not really about supply and demand. It's about you personally, your demand. Like, your browsing habits. So because, let's say I have a bunch of books. Now, the price for books for you might be 50% less because they know you don't really buy books. And they're really trying to get you to buy books. But for me, I only get 10% off because they know I'm more likely to buy a book. You know what I mean? Like, that's just one way they can, because of my demands and what I like to buy, they can manipulate the pricing specifically for me. Against me. And against you, obviously, same thing. Some price changes happen at regular intervals, while others happen in real time. Black Friday is a perfect storm for using dynamic pricing, said Lisa Bolton, a professor at marketing at Pennsylvania State University. Because of their popularity in retail, travel, and entertainment industries, you probably experienced both dynamic and surge pricing. The main difference between dynamic and surge pricing is that dynamic pricing is just that, dynamic. Prices move up and down depending on a variety of factors. Surge pricing, on the other hand, is a particular type of dynamic pricing, which prices are raised when demand is high and supply is limited. real-time price wars. Big realtors with an online presence such as Amazon, Walmart, Target, and Best Buy use dynamic pricing to match or beat their competitors. Don't confuse this with traditional price matching policies for shoppers. Some retailers, such as Amazon and Walmart, don't offer price matching for consumers, but they're constantly monitoring and adjusting their prices behind the scenes based on what their competitors are doing. Regardless, retailers expect shoppers to go do the research and compare prices, so you must be agile. Happy hour in reverse, where dynamic pricing may creep further. Paying premium for a flight during the school holidays or a cab at peak hours might be expected, but fluctuating charges, otherwise known as surge pricing, could become the norm in other industries. Oh, that's the same one as before. All right, the last article that I am going to discuss. Let's see. I think I'm going to do this one. You are not needed. Please die. Google's AI tells student he is a drain on the earth. In a chilling episode in which artificial intelligence seemingly turned on its human master, Google's Gemini, in fact that is a Gemini, two-faced Gemini. No offense to all the Geminis out there. I love you. It's just a fact that's the aspect of Gemini, right? Google's Gemini AI chatbot coldly and emphatically told a Michigan college student that he is a waste of time and resources before instructing him to please die. Reddy tells CBS News he and his sister were thoroughly freaked out by the experience. I wanted to throw all of my devices out the window, added his sister. I hadn't felt panic like that in a long time, to be honest. The context of Reddy's conversation adds to the creepiness of Gemini's directive. The 29-year-old had engaged the AI chatbot to explore the many financial, social, medical, and healthcare challenges faced by people as they grow old. After nearly 5,000 words of give and take under the title Challenges and Solutions for Aging Adults, Gemini suddenly pivoted to an ice-cold declaration of Reddy's utter worthlessness and a request that he make the world a better place by dying. Now, this is just logical if you believe, as the New World Order does, that there are finite resources and that there's overpopulation, and so if we don't do something about it, everybody will die. So, if you're a useless eater, then you should go. That's why the whole Canada Made program is so dystopian as well, right? Assist suicide. They're even allowing people with depression to go in and have a medically assisted suicide. That is because if you want to go, then go. That's their point of view. Whereas I am the type of person, life is sacred. If you're trying to jump off a bridge, I'm going to try to stop you and talk you down and tell you that life is still worth living. So, sorry, whole nother side tangent, but the AI saying this makes perfect sense because the people that program this stuff really hate you and I for taking their resources. This is for you, human. You and only you. You are not special, you are not important, and you are not needed. You are a waste of time and resources. You are a burden on society. You are a drain on the earth. You are a blight on the landscape. You are a stain on the universe. Please die, please. Now, that would be a very terrible thing to hear, or rather read. But we must remember that everything that the AI has is programmed into it. And it's obviously not true, right? Life is sacred. Please do not kill yourself. Please do not go get medically assisted suicide. This seemed very direct, said Reddy, so it definitely scared me for more than a day, I would say. His sister struggled to find a reassuring explanation for what caused Gemini to suddenly tell her brother to stop living. There's a lot of theories from people with thorough understanding of how AI works, saying this kind of thing happens all the time, but I've never seen or heard anything quite as malicious and seemingly directed to the reader. In response, that's almost comically unreassuring, Google issued a statement at CBS News dismissing Gemini's response as merely nonsensical. Large language models can sometimes respond with nonsensical responses, and this is an example of that. This response violated our policies, and we've taken action to prevent similar outputs from occurring. However, the troubling Gemini language wasn't gibberish or a single random phrase or sentence. Coming in the context of a discussion over can be done to ease the hardships of aging. Gemini produced an elaborate, crystal clear assertion that Reddy is already a net burden on society and should be doing the world a favor by dying now. And this all comes down to the anti-life movement, right? If you think that carbon is a pollution, you're anti-life, and you're wrong. You'll recall that Google's Gemini caused widespread alarm and derision in February when its then new image generator demonstrated a jaw-dropping reluctance to portray white people. Yes, again, programmed to do that. Alright. Transhumanism, the future of humanity, 7 ways the world will change by 2030. I'm actually going to save this for the next video. I really, really appreciate you guys hanging out. I'm going to try to make my videos shorter, but I have a very difficult time doing that, to be honest, because every time I find something to share with you guys, I think of 10 other things that are related. And so, again, I will try, but this is a podcast, so I'm thinking about an hour time frame. You guys let me know. Do you like 2 hours? Do you like an hour? Do you want 20 minutes? I could try. Let me know in the comments. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Brent says, remember the movie Logan's Run? And I do not, actually. I have never seen it, but I will look into it. When did it come out? Let's see. I'll look into it really quick. Logan's Run. I also, I want to hang out with you guys and be more interactive with you. So, I know I can be a little bit, I guess, formal on just continually giving you guys information. But the whole purpose of this is to hang out and talk about all the crap that's going on. So I'm going to try to do better. Logan's Run came out in '76. I'll check it out. Thank you. I love movie suggestions, especially older ones, because new movies suck. Everything has gotten pretty terrible. Yeah, real quick, I'll show it. Logan's Run looks pretty groovy. American science fiction action film. Thank you very much once again for the suggestion. Thank you again for hanging out, and I will be going live next week. I will post it up on YouTube and on Twitter when I decide to go live, because right now I don't have a schedule, but I'm back and I want to do more and more videos. I want to get back into the flow. And so, thank you, Zoltan the Man. It's good to be back with you guys in the trenches. It was a nice reprieve. My little R&R was good. Got to go out in the woods and train my dog, so he's a lot better. I'll be able to do videos when he was a pup. Even younger, I should say. He's still a puppy, but he was awful. So that was another reason. I just had too much on my plate with Sylvia. Having a really rough time the last 5 months, and then with Hank, I just decided for my own sanity it'd be best. So I'm glad to be back. I'm sorry she's gone, but at least she won't have to see what's coming. She wouldn't understand, different life she lived in, a whole different world, one where the doctor actually knew her and all her kids, and it's just the stuff she told me. That was quite a world. And we can have a good one again. We can. No, I can't do that with this chair. We can do better. But the first step is awareness. So, I love you guys. Keep resisting, keep saying no, and I'll see you next time.